FBI operation ended in dozens arrested, including police officers, sheriff's deputies, and 2 sheriffs.
3,200 violent gangs and drug dealers have been taken off the streets. Off the streets. Now, Director Patel and all of these agencies have also been working so hard on getting the leadership. But we are getting all the gang members off the streets and the drug dealers, Sinaloa, CJNG, MS-13, and more, TDA. 91 tons of drugs have been seized as a result of this task force. We tried to put this in perspective for you. This would be filling 4 18-wheelers for all the drugs just in the last month that have been taken off the street. 58,000 kilos of cocaine. Think about a big backyard swimming pool. That would fill 1.5 swimming pools. Just the powder cocaine that has been removed, saving lives this last month, thanks to all of these people around the table. 2,300 kilos of fentanyl powder and 2.1 million fentanyl pills off the streets. And as the president said, more than 1,000 illegal guns.
May 8th, 2025, 5:47 a.m., Coral Gables, Florida. DEA Special Agent Victor Reyes pressed against the wall of a $12 million mansion, waiting for the signal to breach. This was supposed to be a routine drug raid. Intelligence indicated Carlos El Tigre Mendoza, a high-ranking CJNG cartel member, was using this mansion as a stash house. DEA expected to find drugs, cash, maybe weapons. Just another South Florida bust. But when the door blew open and agents flooded inside, they found something that would change everything. Yes, there were drugs. 2.4 tons of cocaine and 680 kilograms of fentanyl hidden throughout the 12,000 square foot mansion. Yes, there was cash. $87 million vacuum sealed inside walls. But in El Tigre's private office, in a hidden room behind a false bookshelf, DEA agents discovered something far more disturbing. Police evidence room keys, Miami-Dade police uniforms, sheriff's office badges, surveillance equipment monitoring police stations, and a leather-bound ledger labeled monthly payroll containing 3 years of payments to Sheriff Antonio Vargas and 17 police officers across Miami-Dade County. In that moment, what started as a drug raid became the exposure of a $1.4 billion corruption network that had infiltrated 3 law enforcement agencies. The cartel wasn't just operating in Miami, they'd bought the very people supposed to stop them. How did a routine DEA raid accidentally expose the largest police corruption scandal in Florida history? Hit like, comment, and subscribe before we reveal how one mansion contained evidence that would destroy careers, end lives, and send a sheriff to prison for eternity. The mansion at 847 Coral Way was everything you'd expect from a cartel's safe house. Gated entrance, security cameras everywhere, reinforced doors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Biscayne Bay, the kind of property that screamed wealth, and the kind of wealth that came from moving tons of drugs. DEA had been watching Carlos Mendoza for 8 months. Wiretaps revealed he coordinated CJNG operations across South Florida, receiving shipments from Mexico, processing cocaine, distributing to cells from Miami to Orlando. Intelligence suggested he kept large quantities of product and cash at his Coral Gables residence. A federal judge authorized a no-knock warrant. At 5:52 a.m., the battering ram hit the front door. Agents poured through the entrance, weapons drawn, clearing rooms with practiced efficiency. Mendoza was in the master bedroom, scrambling for a weapon. He was tackled, handcuffed, and secured before he could reach the nightstand where a loaded Glock waited. The initial search revealed exactly what DEA expected. In the garage, 400 kilograms of cocaine hidden inside a luxury SUV's modified compartment. In the basement, another 2 tons of cocaine vacuum sealed in duffel bags. In the master bathroom, 680 kilograms of fentanyl stored in waterproof containers. In the kitchen, $23 million in cash rubber banded and stacked in the pantry behind canned goods. But Agent Reyes noticed something odd. The mansion's square footage didn't match the interior dimensions. There was missing space. He studied the layout and realized the office was too shallow. The back wall should extend another 15 feet based on the exterior measurements. He examined the bookshelf covering the rear wall, revealing a concealed room that would change everything. Inside was a command center that looked more like a police operations room than a cartel hideout. 3 computer monitors displayed live feeds from cameras positioned outside Miami-Dade Police Headquarters, the Miami Police Department's main station, and the county sheriff's office. Radio equipment was tuned to all 3 agencies' frequencies, allowing real-time monitoring of police communications. A wall-mounted map showed police patrol patterns, marked with notes about which routes were safe and which had honest cops who couldn't be bribed. And on the desk, in plain sight, sat the leather ledger. Reyes opened it with gloved hands. The first page was labeled Nomina Mensual, monthly payroll. What followed were 3 years of meticulous records documenting payments to law enforcement officers. Sheriff Vargas, $400,000 per month. Then 17 entries with badge numbers, first names, and payment amounts ranging from $50,000 to $150,000 monthly. Each entry included notes, raid warnings, evidence disposal, witness intimidation, escort services. The ledger totaled $3.2 million in monthly bribes. Over 3 years, the cartel had paid $115 million to corrupt the very people supposed to stop them, but it got worse. Reyes found a box containing police department property, evidence room keys from Miami-Dade Police, official uniforms, spare badges, and body cameras. He found encrypted phones with text message threads between Mendoza and people identified only by badge numbers. Within 3 hours, FBI agents from the Miami field office had secured the mansion as a federal crime scene. The DEA drug seizure suddenly became secondary to the corruption evidence. FBI began the painstaking process of analyzing 3 years of ledgers, encrypted communications, and surveillance footage. The pattern that emerged was devastating. Now they knew it was betrayal from within law enforcement. When evidence was seized and placed in police custody, corrupt officers with evidence room access would contaminate it, lose it, or destroy it. Critical evidence in major trafficking cases had mysteriously disappeared, forcing prosecutors to drop charges against cartel members who should have been convicted. When witnesses agreed to testify against the cartel, corrupt officers would access witness protection records and provide addresses to CJNG enforcers. The ledger contained 8 entries marked "Witness Eliminated" with dates and addresses. FBI cross-referenced these with unsolved murders over 3 years. 8 people who'd agreed to testify against CJNG had been killed within weeks of giving statements to police. The officers had signed their death warrants. And, perhaps most disturbing, when rival cartels attempted to move product through Miami, corrupt officers would arrest the crews on legitimate charges, then deliver them not to jail, but to CJNG enforcers. FBI worked in complete secrecy. They couldn't risk alerting any of the 18 corrupt officers. They couldn't use Miami-Dade resources or trust local law enforcement. The investigation was conducted entirely by federal agents from outside Florida, operating under the deepest classification protocols. FBI obtained federal warrants for all 18 suspects. On May 15, 2025, at 6 a.m., FBI executed Operation Blue Wall Down, simultaneous arrests of Sheriff Vargas and all 17 corrupt officers. FBI tactical teams hit 18 locations across Miami-Dade County in a coordinated strike designed to prevent any suspect from warning others. At his waterfront home in Key Biscayne, Sheriff Vargas was arrested in his driveway as he prepared to leave for work. FBI found $2.3 million in cash hidden in his garage, along with encrypted phones and cartel communications. Across the county, 17 officers woke to FBI agents at their doors with arrest warrants. Some surrendered immediately. Others tried to flee. One officer jumped his backyard fence and ran 3 blocks before being tackled by pursuing agents. 2 officers attempted to destroy evidence, frantically deleting files and smashing phones before FBI could secure them. 1 officer, facing the reality of life in prison, attempted suicide by swallowing pills, but was immediately given medical attention and survived. By 8 a.m., all 18 suspects were in federal custody. The news broke across South Florida like a thunderclap. The sheriff and 17 officers arrested on federal corruption charges. The implications rippled through every law enforcement agency in the region. May 16, 2025. Attorney General Pamela Bondi and FBI Director Christopher Wray held a joint press conference in Miami alongside Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Yesterday, federal law enforcement arrested Sheriff Antonio Vargas and 17 police officers for operating a criminal enterprise on behalf of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. For 3 years, these individuals betrayed their badges, their departments, and the citizens of Miami-Dade County. They warned cartels about raids. They destroyed evidence. They provided witness addresses that resulted in murders. They arrested rival traffickers and delivered them to cartel enforcers for execution. They protected a $1.4 billion drug trafficking operation. The charges were comprehensive. All 18 faced federal counts of narco-terrorism, conspiracy to distribute narcotics, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, kidnapping conspiracy, and murder conspiracy. Their testimony provided devastating detail about how the corruption network operated, how officers were recruited, and how crimes were coordinated. Sheriff Vargas and 3 officers refused any deal and went to trial in September 2025. The trial lasted 8 weeks. Prosecutors presented 450 hours of wiretapped conversations, the complete ledger documenting $115 million in bribes, body camera footage showing crimes in progress, financial evidence of unexplained wealth, and testimony from the 14 officers who'd pleaded guilty. The jury deliberated for 6 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all counts for all 4 defendants. In December, sentencing was severe. Sheriff Vargas received 8 consecutive life sentences plus 300 years, effectively ensuring he would die in federal prison. The 3 officers received sentences of 65, 75, and life without parole. For Miami-Dade County, the aftermath was painful but necessary. Governor DeSantis appointed an interim sheriff and ordered comprehensive reviews of all 3 affected departments. New protocols were implemented. Mandatory financial disclosure for all officers, random integrity testing, FBI liaison positions in each department, protected channels for reporting corruption, and federal oversight of major operations. The impact on cartel operations was immediate. Without law enforcement protection, CJNG's Miami network collapsed. Federal agents, no longer worried about leaks, executed raids that seized an additional 18 tons of drugs and $340 million in cash over 6 months. Trafficking routes that had operated with impunity were disrupted. The organization that had paid $115 million for protection got nothing in return but prison sentences for everyone involved. For the families of the 8 murdered witnesses, the revelation that police officers had provided their addresses to killers brought grief and rage. Federal victim compensation provided financial support, but nothing could return their loved ones. People who'd done the right thing by cooperating with law enforcement, only to be betrayed by the very officers they'd trusted. President Trump addressed the scandal during a speech on cartel violence. A sheriff and 17 police officers in Miami were arrested for working with drug cartels. They didn't just look the other way, they actively helped poison flow into American communities. They got witnesses killed, they protected murderers, they betrayed everything the badge represents. But they were caught, they were prosecuted, and they will spend the rest of their lives in prison. As evidence recovery teams finished processing the Coral Gables mansion months later, the full scope became clear. What started as a routine drug raid had accidentally exposed systematic corruption that had operated for years. One hidden room, one ledger, one decision by a cartel leader to document his crimes meticulously, and 18 lives destroyed by greed. If you believe these stories must be told, stories proving that corruption, no matter how deeply hidden, will eventually be exposed, then like this video, subscribe to Busted, and share this with someone who needs to understand that the badge means something. Because the vast majority of law enforcement serves with honor, and those who don't will face justice.